when you harm your allies, you're not going to get stronger. That's the logic. That's the way I understand it. And the allies of the United States in the West Asia are these GCC countries, Arab states. If you let them to go down the hole of this endless war, their economy going to be damaged, and they're not going to be in a good shape to help you. What is your understanding of that?
I think that's exactly right. I mean, I think if you go back to February 27th, it looked like to almost everybody, me included, that the United States had this formidable basing structure in the Gulf, and we had created a formidable alliance with the Gulf states. And it looked like we had the upper hand vis-a-vis the Iranians. I think everybody understood, or almost everybody understood, that Iran might shut down the Strait of Hormuz, but not many people, I think, and again, this would include me, understood the extent to which Iran could use its missiles and drones to wreck the American basing structure and ultimately undermine its alliance structure in the Gulf. And this, of course, is exactly what's happened. It's hard for me to imagine that the United States is going to rebuild those bases in the Gulf, not only because the Americans are not going to want to build bases that are vulnerable to Iranian missiles, but also because the Gulf states are not going to want those bases there, not as long as the United States has hostile relations with Iran. So it's hard to see how this basing structure and this alliance structure survives what's happened in this war that's taken place since February 28th. So I think the international politics of the Gulf are likely to be very different moving forward. And my sense is, and it's early in the game, so you cannot be too sure how this is going to play out, but my sense is, Nima, that what's going to happen is that the Gulf states will go to considerable lengths to work out a modus vivendi with the Iranians. It would seem to me that's the smart thing for them to do. And by the way, I think it's the smart thing for the Iranians to do. The Iranians' economy, or the Iranian economy, has clearly been wrecked, not only as a result of this war, but as a result of the economic sanctions that the United States and its friends have put on Iran for many years now. And also the 12-day war that took place last year. This is in 2025, where Israel and the United States attacked Iran. So enormous damage has been done to Iran's economy, and it clearly wants to recover. And if it wants to recover, that means having good relations with the other Gulf states, certainly not continuing this hostile relationship with those Gulf states that it now has. So I would think the Iranians have every incentive to work out a modus vivendi. And of course, as I'm saying, I think the Gulf states do as well. And I think if they can get the Americans out of there, that would be all for the good. The problem with the Americans, and it's very important to understand this, is that Israel wants to basically wreck Ukraine. Israel has a number of...
You mean Iran, Professor Mearsheimer?
Oh, yes. Sorry, Iran. Yeah, I didn't mean Ukraine. Yes, the Israelis want to wreck Iran. And they therefore are putting great pressure on the United States to stay in the fight. The Israelis don't want us to go back to another memorandum of understanding that looks anything like the one that was signed on 17 June. They were greatly dissatisfied with that memorandum of understanding. So there's a lot of pressure from the Israelis, and that means there's a lot of pressure from the Israel lobby inside the United States, and more generally from the hawks in the United States to stay in the fight. And they're constantly pushing President Trump not to go back to the memorandum of understanding. In fact, they pushed President Trump to move away from the memorandum of understanding. But the problem is that the hawks, and this is true of the Israelis as well, they have no war-winning strategy. We've lost. They refuse to accept that. Fine, you refuse to accept it, but you have to tell us what your clever strategy is that's going to allow us to win the war. And they have no clever strategy. Trump has tried every trick in the book. If there was a clever strategy there that we could use, we would have employed it long ago. It's not there. So we're basically doomed.